I think the world still doesn't understand yet that the average transaction price for a Model 3 or a Model Y is less than the average transaction price for an ICE vehicle. And over time, though, that will be clear.
So in terms of with Model 3, what was also something that stood out for you, that you said, okay, this was super interesting, or these numbers really surprised me? Can you think of anything, or is it a
Well,
bad
I'll say the
question?
good and the
Mm.
bad thing, not or the good and the challenging thing. Maybe I think the good thing is I liked that they actually elevated their prices a bit at launch because
Mhm.
that's reality. Um, and over time, you know, every component, every new part, they said over 50% of the parts are new. Well, all those parts need to get to their own peak run rate in their supply chain. They got to get to their
Mhm.
yield. They got to get to their quality targets. And until they're at those targets, they're going to cost more. So
Mhm.
I like the fact that until the car is at full volume,
Mhm.
that it's a little bit more expensive. Um, I would say that just the downside is like Model 3 is a global product. It's available
Mhm.
everywhere. And normally, when companies get to global scale, when they bring out the next version of it, they launch it at global scale. So the fact that the Model 3, like I can't get one in the
Mhm.
US, and normally the US is the first for
Yeah.
everything from Tesla, right?
Yeah.
So um, someone's got to be first, but usually within a month or two, like all really, they should be able to globally launch within a month or two.
Mhm.
And there's a good reason for it. I think it's a couple of the reasons that I brought up before around the chassis and maybe the battery. But I would say that's one of the challenging things for Tesla is to go from a global product and then to launch it not globally. I don't think they drew up the plan that way.
Mhm.
But in terms of the vehicle itself, I love the styling. I love what they did with the styling. Um,
Mhm.
and I love that they worked on things like the comfort, the seats,
Yeah.
the road noise. They worked on things that are meaningful to consumers, and then they further simplified the interior. So you're it kind of has a little bit more of a premium feel,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
and and I think that they're going to be able to build this at a cost structure that's cheaper than the previous
Mhm.
Model 3. So, but we'll have to see what the teardown shows. But plenty to like in terms of how they focus on the consumer. And then I think the challenge for Tesla is like, how do they get this back in the global distribution as quickly as possible?
Mhm. Yeah, pretty interesting to see this. And you've mentioned the cost structure, and I wanted to know if I've also asked this Farzad the last episode he was on here. He was on recently, and I asked him, where do you think the pricing, the end pricing, when everything is when Tesla moves comfortably into their price brackets, that the whole ecosystem of Tesla fits. We have the Model S and X, then we have the Model Y, then then we have the lower the small sized car that Tesla is producing at Mexico. Then, so where do you think this car will settle in? Not accounting to inflation, let's just say this inflation that we have right now, just like the pricing now. What do you think
Yeah, I
this could
think the
be?
Model 3 will be somewhere in the 27 to
Oh, really?
$35,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Again, with time and getting it to scale, I don't think Tesla would have refreshed this vehicle and with just their plan in mind in terms of making things cheaper or making them less expensive and to drive scale. I don't think they would purposely develop a more expensive or even an equivalently
Mm-hmm.
expensive vehicle. So I think when they get it to scale, they'll be able to take it down meaningfully, maybe below $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of incentives globally
Yeah.
when you buy a car at this level, to where to the consumer they're already going to see it there, if not lower. So yeah, and then I think Tesla's working on a Gen 3 vehicle that they'll I think they're going to surprise us. It's going to be in the mid 20s US dollars, maybe even lower.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think they're going to be able to really and and the volumes at these price points, it really goes exponential. It's not linear. You take 1,000, oh, it goes up, 3%. It gets exponential pretty quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the world still doesn't understand yet that the average transaction price for a Model 3 or a Model Y is less than the average transaction price for an ICE vehicle. And over time, though, that will be clear. And consumers will talk, word of mouth. The net promoter score for Tesla is in the 90%. It's 95, 97%. It's higher. It's the highest in the auto industry, and it may be the highest in actually most other industries as well. So people buy their Teslas. They love them. They tell their friends about them, and they would purchase them again. That's what you want. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the Model 3 and getting the volume scale. And I think right behind that, it's going to take some time, but I think they'll refresh the Model Y soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also the Juniper project, or or their project name. I also think that, or I've discussed this also with Faza last time, that the expansion of Giga Berlin now could be that they can make the Juniper line there and then transition with a smooth transition to the other line, and then retool the line back again on the other side of the factory. I think this
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, this is just total speculation, of course, but
sure.
this was pretty plausible to me. I mean, Model 3 production in Germany is unlikely because it's so near to, or yeah, it's kind of near to China. But
Right, right.
the delivery here works almost flawlessly. The cars arrive here, everything's fine. So they're gonna import, I think, the Model 3 here, like you said, also. But yeah, but how you see this as a possibility?
For Model 3 in Berlin, remote. I think they'll import it, and I think Berlin will focus on Model Y and then eventually the Gen 3 vehicle or
Hmm.
vehicles in plural.
Yeah, yeah. This makes absolutely sense. I also think so. And Tesla also showed in the shareholder meeting uh, the also the van under a sheet. What Where do you think this will be produced? That's a question that I'm asking me all the time. But maybe you have a little bit better understanding of the whole supply chain and everything, and then you can maybe give a tip or a hint at least. I mean, of course, we don't know anything here. It's just speculation, but
Yeah,
um,
sure. I
yeah.
think in multiple markets, I think a van that can be high range and can handle like a large capacity from a mass perspective and from a volume perspective,
Hmm.
I think would be very popular. And there's a lot of these sold. I
Hmm.
think the U.S. number per year, I think, is somewhere in like 375,000 per year. So it's not
Hmm.
an insignificant number. So
Hmm.
it makes sense for Tesla to serve this because they're working on the semi and they're
Hmm.
working on semi production now and getting that production line built, and to just go from sedans and cars and trucks to not have this larger van or service vehicle. I don't think. I mean, I actually think Tesla should do a minivan, like a
Hmm.
family
Yeah,
minivan too.
absolutely,
But these are all
absolutely.
things like we're thinking like what they think we should do or not do. I think they're trying to really just cut over traditional ICE transportation to more sustainable transportation and do it in an efficient way. So it takes a number of years for them to figure out how to get the efficiency, how to get the performance, and how to get
Hmm.
the specifications right so you can really be in a tier. I think that's one of the reasons Cybertruck has taken a bit of time, because they have to really master the performance and the whole thing, the performance, the cost structure, everything for it to be successful. And Tesla really
Hmm.
thinks in multiple year time frames. They're not just trying to get a
Yeah,
product out there to fill a slot.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Yes, makes sense. And with you've mentioned now Cybertruck, and I also think this thing opens up this new vehicle category, and this will be like very important for Tesla. Also a huge milestone because it's cool because the Cybertruck is built domestically and also for the market locally, actually, because I pre-ordered one, but I don't assume that this is gonna arrive next year in Germany. So it's gonna take some years to please the American market at first, because the competition there is way higher. It's such an important category for the US. That's why I think they're gonna maybe even release it, like Matthew Donegan and Ryan also hinted at, that they might release it in China first, even before they're gonna release it in Europe. So I shouldn't do my hopes so high, but yeah, let's see. I mean, this could be also good, but I think this opens up this Pandora's box of utility vehicles, and yeah, it's also technological, very similar, like the Semi with the three motors that one additional motor just kicks in when it's needed and everything like this for the efficiency and everything. So I think they have many synergies with the Semi there.